Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, which we have on the screen right here. Looking over there at the altcoin market, and of course, taking a peek over there at the stock market as it gets set to open here in the next 4 minutes. We'll look over there at things like the DXY, or the US dollar currency index, along with precious metals like gold and silver. And then lastly, taking a look over there at any type of financial news and any type of crypto news to get our beautiful Wednesday started. And then, of course, we'll hang out in the chat and just kind of goof off for another 30 minutes at the end of that. We are sitting at a little bit more than $60,000 here for Bitcoin. But of course, when we kick off a Wednesday, we got to start it off the right way. Happy Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my
All right. There we go. Now we can get this thing going. We've had a busy morning over there in the stock market world. We had CPI released today, our consumer price index, measure of inflation. We finally got the 2 handle on there, the 2.9. I think like 6 months ago, we said it would take until this month to finally end up getting it, or maybe next month. I think next month when we get our CPI, we're actually going to... So we've got a 2.9% year over year CPI right now. That's the first time since like 2021 we've seen a 2 on the front side. And, we always said, it'd be like right before the elections when this thing starts happening. And next month, we'll get another CPI reading, and it's going to drop a bigger number out of there. So let's see, today's the 14th. The Fed is on the 18th. So I'm pretty sure when we go into that next Fed meeting, we will probably have anywhere between a 2.4 to a 2.7% CPI by the time we get to that Fed meeting next week. I think we'll see a bigger drop in the year over year next month, because we're going to be dropping like a 0.5% out of the year over year from August of 2023. That'll fall out of there. And if we continue doing what we've done for the last couple of months, we did like a 0, a -1, and then a 0.2. So if we kind of keep in that same range, if we do either a 0.2% next month, then we're going to see CPI drop to 2.6%. If we do as low as a -0.1%, as we did a couple of months ago, then we could end up seeing a CPI as low as 2.3% by the time we get to that Fed meeting there in September. So definitely expecting... then again, if we register like a 0.5% or something that the market wouldn't expect, then we would just stay here at 2.9. But that's kind of the thoughts of heading into the next one. So, here we are. We got the 2.9% registered in here. You could see that the market reacted. So I was watching this prior in pre-market. I've had this on here for a couple hours, just kind of looking at it, saying, it seems like there's the 5 waves down. We get back to wave 4. We were just below it. CPI print comes, boom, we shoot right back up the top of wave 4. Now it's kind of stalling out. This looks like what accumulation schematics look like. We're looking at the Russell 2000, by the way. My thoughts on this thing are we're probably stuck range bound here for a couple of weeks. That would still corroborate the things that we're looking at on here. If this, as I think I titled it or denoted it in the video that I released yesterday, this dingus thing, or this nonsense of following exact timetables here for Bitcoin, it still insinuates, the last week of August or heading into early September. So it's even structurally, this is very similar to what you do when you are actually in a range. So I wouldn't be surprised if we stay in here for some time, or something like that before it could finally get out of there. So not too like jumping up and down, thinking this thing's ready to break out in here. I think this thing is probably going to range here for some time, but that's okay, right? That's just normal structures, and that would be just completely fine. And really, it just matches the time that we're looking at over here. So, kicking off the day, if you caught yesterday's video, and I think we even covered this in a video either earlier this week or late last week. I just can't remember. It's been a blur. Of course, you guys know I've had a lot going on in my own life outside of charts. But we covered this definitely yesterday. Of course, all of this price action ends up happening with an extreme volatility spike, just as we did there for C19. When we did this, this is what happened in the retracement rally, and then a fully completed capitulation coming at the end with macro markets with volatility spikes. So kind of looking at Bitcoin here, I'm really just what would be nice is I'm not convinced this thing's ready to like shoot out of here by any means, but looking for just kind of stair stepping to still continue happening in here for the thing to just kind of continue holding in itself. Looking over there at like altcoins, of course, we've seen some initial reactions happening in here. XRP is still just stalled out. We're kind of in that window where these are the days where things kind of got moving for XRP after this many days in the past. Of course, that all has confluence with all of these things happening in here. So I'm biding my time. I'm just over here kind of like, gosh, is it going to start at any minute? And still, it's just kind of a waiting game happening in there. But yeah, so there you go for the Russell again for a full-fledged bull run, like new all-time highs and all that kind of stuff. This is the thing we have to see get going in here. And just structurally, I'm not convinced like we're ready to do that today just because we got a CPI reading or tomorrow, but maybe in the next week or two, this thing can kind of start maturing this range. This is typically what the early part of a range would look like. I'll give you kind of some examples in here. Right, and of course, this is on a big time frame. This is like 9 months. This, of course, is 1 week. But just to kind of give you an idea of what the early half of a range looks like when you're building a range, that you're in something like that. You can look at other examples. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Meant to do that down here. Right, when we're in the initial phase of a range, it's kind of like being right here, and then there's still just being more working out for the remainder of the range to kind of keep going. So I'm not convinced we're getting out yet. I think we'll be in here for a couple weeks, and we'll just kind of track it as it goes from there. As for VIX, though, of course, nice to see the VIX that has completely calmed down as if it was a one-off event. It's very similar to what we had happen back in here, so hopefully that's good enough on that. Looking over there at the US dollar currency index, the DXY, still down 102.45. Gold, fortunately, taking a little bit of a pause here. It's a little bit nerve-wracking seeing gold still continue to hold itself up so high. These are not typically things of like going into massive bull runs. It's really what I'm kind of hoping for here is like what we typically see on like double tap, bull flag, breakout, backtest, V bottoms. And that we can actually see a run happen in the markets in a pullback in gold, because unfortunately I deleted everything off of this. But every time we've had any type of big movements happening in there, these are in periods where gold is falling. And that has been our time period for macro markets and for crypto to do well. And so that this would be a breakout, and then eventually this thing has to pull itself all the way back down in here. However, on the bigger time frame, I think gold and silver are the play. Again, I am not convinced that markets will go up forever, that the stock market will go up forever. Anybody under the age of 35 probably does, because in their entire adult life, that's the only thing that has happened, has been that, right? So this massive bubble printed in here, I don't think that is going to be the case forever. There's all the wave counts, just to be real concerned that we're just kind of working out the final movements in here for the United States stock market. And that's going to be the complication happening in here. But my personal thoughts are long-term macro trend, big trend, precious metals are the thing, and especially silver. So But what we would like is we would like to at least see some pulling down happening in gold here in order to see macro markets be able to kind of take the wheel for a little bit. So there you go. DXY. And I've listened to other people and their thoughts on how all that could happen. It would probably have to be some type of stagflation environment where dollar, you kind of look at the psychology of people. And I hear it all the time too, when I'm having conversations, like not really thinking things clearly. Like I have to, I'm just going to use Bitcoin as an example. I have to buy Bitcoin because inflation is going to eat away my dollars. And it's like, well, no, that's an extremely high risk asset, right? So like even if you're losing 10% of your purchasing power on, losing 10% of purchasing power on the dollar, you don't need to buy something that has risk volatility levels of extremes, right? You would just buy things like treasuries, right? That would, offset that, or I bonds, right? That go based on the inflation rate. But if, we're seeing a deterioration in macro markets happening at the same time of stagflation, where you're also seeing still a continued fall happening in the dollar, people are going to be desperate to find somewhere to put their money, because it won't be a situation where you can just sell everything and then just sit in cash and wait things out. You'll also be losing purchasing power at the same time. And that the likely place people will go to will be gold and silver. So we'll see. No secret that I am biased. I'm biased on that. My gold and silver portfolio is very similar in size to my crypto portfolio. But all right, there we go. Moving on. Let's take a look over here at this. We're going to have the rates or the probability set up here for the next FOMC meeting, which of course is September 18th. 60% probability that we see a 25 basis point rate cut. 40% probability that we see a 50 basis point rate cut. In between now and then, we still have one more CPI reading and we still have an unemployment reading. So there's plenty of time for this stuff to change. The obvious thing is the market has completely 100% put in a probability that we are doing a cut. The market is just arguing over how big is the cut going to be. Next week, I believe, is Jackson Hole. And that will be where Jerome Powell does issue something. He's going to say something. We'll see if he continues his dovish speaks. And everyone does expect that he will, especially with now inflation hitting 2.9%. And it's likely going to drop even more at the next one. And then unemployment, whether or not that's going to continue ticking up even higher. So, all right, there you go. $60,600 for Bitcoin. Things still just kind of humming along, chilling over here in the rest of the market, waiting for some type of trigger to set things off. Looking over there at macro news going on in financial markets, you can see here you go, S&P 500 rises slightly as inflation rate slows to 2.9%. Finally, annual inflation rate slows to 2.9% in July, which is the lowest since 2021. UBS CEO says it's too early to talk about a recession, but a slowdown is possible. Well, slowdowns typically turn into that. So S&P 500 futures gain as inflation slows to 2.9%. Is that still true? See, the market's got to be open by now, right? What are you doing, market? Pretty flat opening. So up 3.4 points for the Russell. Up 31 points for the Dow, up 6 points for the S&P, up 28 points for the NASDAQ. All of that is anywhere between 0.1% to 0.2%. So a very muffled opening happening in here. You got some winners and some losers, but the percentages are all kind of in range. Nothing too big happening in the market to get it started off. All right, Mars to acquire Cheez-It and Pringles maker Kellanova for nearly $30 billion. Wow. We have a lot of Cheez-Its in our house. Reddit's increased reliance on Google traffic has Wall Street anxious to see if visitors sign up. Wall Street still loves the Magnificent Seven. I have a very strong opinion on that. The Magnificent Seven, run and hide from it. That's my personal opinion. All right, there you go. CPI, looking over here at CoinDesk, CPI rose 0.2% in July, matching U.S. expectations. Bitcoin continued with modest daily gains at 61,300 following the report. No, it was actually at that prior to the report, and then just kind of shuffled around and scooted down, which I think is now at 60,500. So, yeah. MetaMask starts rollout of blockchain-based debit card developed with MasterCard and banks. Okay. A Bitcoin miner capitulation and record high hash rate point to possible price bottom, says CryptoQuant. Such expansion comes despite a recent drop in Bitcoin prices, indicating positive sentiment among miners after a bout of selling in the past few months. We'll get through the rest of the news, but if you don't know this, I don't even look at the news unless we're doing markets in the morning. I just do not care at all. The magical unicorn fairy dust. We create all the narratives in the world that we want for everything possible, but these things just show up when they're supposed to show up. Minor capitulation. Do not care. Do not care, man. Okay. Canadian, and don't invest in miners. I think it's the worst business model to invest in. Canadian crypto exchange gambled away $9.5 million of users' Bitcoin and Ether. Chance of Bitcoin price drop to 52K rises as derivatives show traders losing hope. FBI will neither confirm nor deny the existence of Satoshi records. Hamster Combat turns down venture capital offers. Why does Cointelegraph talk about this hamster thing so much? Clearly they are invested in it or something. All right, U.S. Court of Appeals. I have no idea if that's true. U.S. Court of Appeals reboots hex manipulation case against Binance US. Crypto.com becomes official UEFA Champions League partner. 45% of Bitcoin supply has not moved in 6 months. DeFi and Ethereum are the new narrative. Michael Vende Pope. Senate proposal for crypto tax exemption is long overdue. Bitcoin sell pressure risk at $1.7 billion in dormant Bitcoin moves over 2 days. Literally no news. Literally no news. Nothing actionable. Nothing important. Absolutely nothing crypto interesting in crypto whatsoever. Everybody waiting on to see if we're going to be able to see if we can get an expansion happening in there. So, all right, that's really what you got. I don't really have anything new to say outside of what we talked about in yesterday's video. I think that's really the primary stuff going on in here. First of all, we've seen some reactions here. Probably going to be fighting some supports here pretty soon, but with Bitcoin, if like looking for supports, really the thing we're looking for now, I'm looking for now, is just stair stepping. To continue stair stepping, can continue moving up. I thought there was a probability that we probably still continue this range in here to have to revisit down in these lows again, but not going any lower than that. And then just continuing the stair step and continuing to keep on going as we approach near the end of August. Again, like if you caught yesterday's video, this thing has just been absurd. It's always silly when this stuff happens because it pretty much takes everything out of your control of being like, oh, I think this is going to happen. You just kind of have to sit here and say, it's followed it. What are you going to do and argue against it, right? That it would still insinuate that August is the month, near the end of the month, see how things progress as we get closer and closer. But a lot of positive things arrived in here. For a completion of a capitulation moment to happen. And if you go through a lot of various altcoins, you see that as well, not just these ones right in here. You have kind of cleaner ABC capitulations that have happened in the market in various other spots as well. But as we get going on this, as we get going with the stock market opening, yep. I think we are range bound in here for just a couple weeks over here on the Russell. And if you missed that earlier, I showed through what ranges can look like in here. This looks like the first half of a range of, not the first half, maybe the first third of range, in that, that's really your automatic rally. That's your secondary test. Now you're going to move into secondary test in phase B. And secondary test in phase B usually is going to stop somewhere in here or down here. So that's really kind of the next phase we're watching for right now. If that's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do? Roll back up to wave 4, 6, and then you go for 7. But then kind of holding on to that range. If it does that move, ABC, and then trying to go stab for it again a second time. So that's kind of the thoughts that I'm at right now. If it holds here, then like that, and then trying again. But I think we're just kind of range bound here for a minute. And then hopefully we can go for the stab a little bit later. Otherwise, for the VIX is not panicking in a moment like this. In this pullback, it's still acting like a range. If we were seeing something crazy like what we witnessed last week, right, on Monday, VIX went absolutely bonkers and crazy. VIX is having no reaction to this happening right now. Still thinking this is probably just ranging that's happening right now for the market. So there you go. 24.59 for gold, 102.35 for the US dollar currency index, $60,200 over there for Bitcoin. Russell is up flat at 0.3 of a point. Dow is actually up 65 points. And you got a mixed market over here when it comes to individual assets. Crypto's shifting into the red now. Kind of bouncing back a little bit, but it looks like it's going to be kind of wobbly here this morning. Keeping an eye on Bitcoin just to be able to kind of continue the stair stepping of something like that in there. I don't think this thing is going to drag on like this. It just wouldn't make any sense for it to drag on like that. But kind of the concept of it still is just kind of a stair step happening in here to continue shifting its way back up. And right, stair step, stair step, stair step, stair step, stair step. And stair step, and you can be in these ranges before you make the next step. And I think that's just kind of where we're at right now for Bitcoin and for the crypto market. But hopefully by the end of the week, we can stair step up one more. And then of course, by the end of the month, hopefully we have full blown things going on in here. Otherwise, that's what you got going on today for crypto. I suggest you just check yesterday's video. And people, it's always funny. Eric sent me a message. I didn't respond because I was busy yesterday. That's one of the best videos you've made in a long time. And I'm like, damn it. Well, thank you, but my other videos are okay. They're all right. All right. But all right, there you go. That's what you got going on today. Volatility in the market after the CPI report. You finally have a 2.9 handle. Again, pushing the Fed towards that. They are going to be cutting come September. All right, there you go. That's it for this, for what's going on. There's literally no news. There's nothing to talk about in crypto. Even the news sites have nothing to talk about. I think NFTs are starting to gain a little bit of steam over there. I've been watching that over there on Twitter. Been watching the momentum return there in NFTs, at least on Solana and Ethereum. So we'll see if that resurgence comes back. I speculated that, it'll be much more. The problem with the meme coins is that it's just everybody competing against each other. There's no community base and any of that kind of stuff, and that NFTs would have a better shot building that community style stuff. Otherwise, people just kind of get sick of the memes. You could just abandon them. So we'll see if NFTs and communities end up having a resurgence, but. Otherwise, that's what you got going on. Whoa, look at that. So you're at 60%. Okay, there you go. Election time, 3 cuts by election time. All right, there you go. That's what you got going on in the market, guys. We'll hop into the chat, but I hope that you've had a better week this week than we did last week. At least I think we have.
It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday.
All right. Into the chat we go, guys. I think that really just kind of wraps it up. 2.9% CPI, range bound likely over here for some, and that's probably the first 1/3 of an accumulation schematic happening in here. This thing can look like this, or it can look like that. But either way, ranging, I think, is in the cards, at least for a week or so. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll check in on that again later this week. Otherwise, let's go ahead and hop into the chat. Stakes at 135. I was informed yesterday, which we had already gotten the stakes, that yesterday was filet mignon day, and we had steaks, and of course I cooked them to 135. Stakes at 135 says, BCB solid content in your video yesterday. So many else look primed to go, similar to the TN-SWE setups you presented recently. Yeah, I do see it a lot in there. Again, it's going to having to remember that even if this market goes, right, the thing is, there's a couple of elements we obviously have to have. We have to have the Russell be able to go up. You're going to have Bitcoin be able to get into likely get into expansion at the same time. That's usually the formula happening in here. But things we've learned in this market is that in 2021, it was only 1 out of 5. So a lot of these things can have these nice setups happening in there, but whether or not they're going to end up having the follow through that comes with them afterwards, 1 out of 5 shot. That's why there's been so much time spent on trying to say, what are those things that can be done to try to improve odds to 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5? And it was focusing on different data points that had better success in 2021. So while a lot of them may have similar setups, having to kind of have that expectation that, like in 2021, only 1 out of 5, and we're not talking like rank number 432 on CoinMarketCap was included in that 1 out of 5. We're talking the top 10, top 20, top 30. Only 1 out of 5 is how rough it was in 2021. And so, like, when we're looking at these things, focusing on things, developer activity and all that stuff. So, does that mean they're going to have 100%? No, it's just these were the things that improved the odds. If you have the technical setup and then you have those factors going with it, it improved the odds. Thank you, Stakes. Luke says, thank you for all your amazing content you put out. I love your videos and all the hard work you put into it. Have a great day, BCB. Member for 10 months. Luke, brother, thank you, man. Jim says, I used to be indecisive, but now I'm not so sure. But thank you, Jim. Thomas Campbell, I've been here since pre-C19. My 2-year-old doesn't know the words in your intro, but will mouth it every time because I'm here daily. Much love, my guy. Thomas, thank you very much for the super chat, man. Yeah, it's always fun. When the market turns around, when the market gets exciting and everybody's in higher spirits, that's when people usually typically post the videos of kids doing the blockchain backer. And I look forward to that day returning one day. Jesse, it's Wednesday, my dudes. Yesterday was my birthday. Happy birthday, Jesse, man. You made it another trip around. Thank you, brother. Crypto Student 99, I appreciate all the videos, data, and opinions. I've been lurking in the past month while on vacation. Keep grinding and slap that like button, folks. Yes, if you could, please hit the like button. Thank you for reminding me. Hope you've enjoyed your vacation, sir. Mine did not go so well. Corey, crazy to think a couple of months from now our lives could change. Thank you, BCB, for all your hard work and your guidance. Oh, man, I sure hope so. Oh, my gosh, I sure hope so. Thank you, man. Jack, member for 33 months, going on almost 3 years, says praying for a speedy recovery for your little one. Thank you, man. Thank you. Very, very crazy time in our lives with just a lot of unknown and uncertainty. He's actually going back to the orthopedics today, and they actually left recently, maybe like a couple of minutes ago, to do another follow-up and get more x-rays and probably another new cast. So the kid is going to turn me and my wife gray much faster than we should. Much faster than we should. The kid, obviously, he just had an injury at school a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and then this. And we talked about it all the time because I broke about 5 bones when I was young. I broke my, and probably more than that. I confirmed broken. I broke my finger. I broke my collarbone. I broke my skull. Got a big old scar on my head. I had to get like 56 staples to get that one repaired. I've broken my arm. But we said that, this kid, with the way he is, could beat me. And that's before he ever even broke his arm. We said he could beat me with how he is. He takes way bigger risks than I did. Sean Kidd Arthur says, I love your videos. Thanks for all the work you put in them. The pickup on the missing bars was an incredible catch. Talking about yesterday's video. What do you think about loading up on SPXS calls in January? so, so you're gonna, oh gosh. Well, I mean, you know how they work, right, man? If your timing is off, they expire worthless. That's the hard thing about calls and puts, right? The hardest thing to predict in anything is time. And so that when you're doing calls and puts, obviously the element you have to have on your side is time. And so you're talking about a 3x bear ETF and then leveraging it with a call. I mean, it's the big Great Depression play if you to get your timing right, right. But you know the risk that those things just expire worthless, and time has to be on your side. I don't know. I don't, because what if time's not right? What if because the thing is, you could be right? You can be right. But if it doesn't happen until like April or May, you lose all your money, right? So I don't know. Your question's about timing. I don't know. JB Estrada says, so can you give me the exact time and the date that XRP will be taking off? This is not a when moon. I hope your son is feeling better and staying calm. Well, XRP's timing would insinuate, if you just go based on number of days, right? I'm not predicting it. All those YouTube channels who are absolutely nothing but clickbait and just blatantly lie to their audiences. I'm not saying this because you guys make those titles. Analyst says we're going to $5,000 tomorrow. If you look at the amount of time that has elapsed in here, we're like on the day. Right? When moon? Hopefully today. So hopefully we see a reversal and a bounce happening in here pretty soon. And hopefully something shows up today. You know, one thing we haven't gotten, just like and again, you're not going to go full bull run. And like the same thing, it's like perpetuating that once Ripple's remedies are done, then XRP price takes off because Ripple's remedies are done. Gosh, how many videos have been made about that over the last couple of years? But it requires a broader market move. So we need to see something fundamentally happen or technically happen in the whole market to get a move. But Bitcoin in this range, first thing is just kind of hold the bottom of the range on this move. And then after that, we're on time. Hopefully we can get some movement to happen here this week. So. Oh, Sir Chavez says, what happened to Blockchain Backer Jr.? Yeah, he's on his way to the orthopedics right now. So, all right, there you go. That's what's going on. It might be a short markets in the morning today, guys. Okay, so Evan Kessie says, I'm hearing some things of XRP ETF. You have to understand this is clickbait. It's from one clickbait to the next. If this doesn't work, we move to the next clickbait. We move to the next narrative to sell you clickbait. How did the Ethereum ETF do for Ethereum? Nothing. How did the conclusion of the SEC case and XRP get labeled not a security do? Nothing. How did the Ripple's remedies do? Nothing. Right? Clickbait, perpetuated narrative, keep you viewing, keep stimulating endorphins and nonsense and hopium. XRP ETF means nothing. Straight up. Sometimes I say stuff, I'm like, I was very rude. That was rude. Thoughts on Curve? There's a lot of buzz. No, I mean, I just see people shilling it on Twitter, but, no. That's the one where the founder got liquidated or whatever. Right. I mean, if enough people shill it on Twitter, it just, why do people buy? Because price is going up. Why is price going up? Because people are buying. If there's big accounts that are pushing it, anything can happen. But That's one of those ones that really broke down into a new low. Right. It doesn't show up in any of the data that I look at, like in regards to like user activity levels, developer activities, things like that. Kitus Black says, if the alt market does not run before the next Fed, do you see yourself exiting the market or taking some off the table due to a potential rate drop or crash? I could see myself pulling stuff if I start seeing more warning signs showing up in there. I don't see them right now, but if they did show up, I could see myself pulling some. Just not seeing them right now. Like I think, what we saw happen last week was a pretty big flush. The rational biohacker. That's a fantastic question. Wendy's Frosty or McDonald's milkshake? I haven't had a Wendy's Frosty in many, many years, so I couldn't comment on that. But I have had a McDonald's milkshake recently, and I do like McDonald's, and that's what I always had when I was a kid. I grew up very poor with my mom. And there were like 3 meals that we had. I just remember it as a kid every week. One of them is baked catfish, and she would give me a lime, and I'd have to squeeze my lime on my baked catfish. The other meal we would have is shells, macaroni, and cheese, and not even the Kraft stuff. It was, she'd buy the bag, she'd cook some shells, and we'd put some cheese whiz on it. And then the other thing is we would have McDonald's, and that was like every week. I know we had those 3 meals, and I think that Vienna sausages was one of the ones that I had a lot too. Those are the things I remember from being a child. But I will go with the McDonald's milkshake. So, all right. I don't want to eat too much of you guys' time. I'm just kind of rambling. So where we're at with Bitcoin, looking for stair-stepping to continue. Makes logical sense to still just have to kind of continue in here. With the RTY, with the stock market, I think, we're probably ranging here for some time. We talked about this at the very beginning. It just kind of continues going down in here. It's probably going to catch a bounce and then kind of keep going. We'll see how the range develops. If you haven't seen that, just rewatch the live stream. We talk about different structures on how this can be the first 1/3 of a range build happening in here for the RTY. The VIX is not responding to this in a catastrophic way as it did last week. Remember, we saw absolute insane VIX spike happening in the market. So it does seem like it's acting like a range is happening, not a crash happening in here. As for gold's getting a little bit of a pullback in here this morning, which is good. And the DXY is still just very far away from the historical danger level. So as for news, there was really nothing going on in news. And truth be told, I don't even read any of the news unless it's markets in the morning. And that's how I truly feel about it. I believe way more in magical unicorn fairy dust than I think any of these biased news perpetuating their own narratives with paid for articles can ever provide, or content that's pitched over there on Twitter. So stick to the charts, and the charts will tell you the news. Jazz D says, if alts go this year, do you see Bitcoin making a new all-time high as well at the end of the bull run? I would watch yesterday's video if you haven't, Jazz. Right? I mean, the real interesting thing about this too is that, say the Bitcoin does break down, right? Like if Bitcoin breaks down in here and say it goes down to like 38K, there's really no bullish structure to see in here for Bitcoin at that point, right? You kind of are at a point where you've done a lot of the things you need to do for a range ending to have happened in here for Bitcoin, for it to be the conclusion of it. Also, not to go into all these details again. Let's see, do I still have this on the screen? There you go. This whole thing, right? This is something we followed all through 2021. Are we in an appropriate correction of what you would be after that, right? The thing that, of course, threw everybody for the trick in the loop in 2021 was that this was this right back in here. And I'm not going to go into looking at all the RSIs, the monthlies, the stochastics. We're not going to go through all of that today, right? But that we have the appropriate correction to show up afterwards, right? And if you weren't here in 2022, gosh, you guys saw this thing way too much in 2022 and 2023, that was the conclusion of it. That's why we were saying 12K is not happening, that we've already completed the entire thing. And so far, the recovery in there has been right on time. The appropriate correction, the appropriate recovery, it's all been on time. But if you start breaking down at this point from Bitcoin, right? So it acts a lot like a retracement. 5 months later, right? What's the altcoin market do? The altcoin market goes into a retracement and then completely cools off. Now it's whether or not it can regain the steam, get itself into a breakout and go. But if you fall back down in here, it becomes very difficult. I don't structurally see how you get into a new all-time high in the event of doing something like that, where you pull back down in here to like 39, 40K, right? Without it just being really, really prolonged, right? So I don't think you're still on track. You're still on track that you haven't broken anything for late August, early September, that you get something. But breaking down any further than where we're at right now, you start really kind of dancing with quite a bit of danger just in regards to every technical thing being broken, right? So like right now, of course, you're on the south side of the daily moving averages, which isn't necessarily the end of the world. But if you start taking out the 50-week moving average, please, by all means, find me an example where that's okay. There's no examples of that where that's okay. Then at that point, of course, then you really start getting stochastics, all indicators to just go plunging down into Doomtown in here, and for it to be lights out, game over happening in here. So you're kind of at a point, and your question is about all-time high. You haven't deviated from this yet, right? You're still safe in here to get something coming here, which would be at the end of August, early September. But it's hard to see. It's hard for me to visualize anything outside of that. That you kind of need it to come pretty soon. Do you see Bitcoin going on a run while Bitcoin dominance skyrockets and RTY and alts are left sidelined? That won't happen. Messy Leo says, buy. Yeah, so I don't ever tell people when to buy or when to sell. But if you just kind of give you an idea here, if you're going to look at it through the lights of these things, in a bullish structure from here, you should be seeing a continued stair-step laddering up, right? So there becomes a pretty decent invalidation in here, that clearly you shouldn't be taking out these levels way down here, right? So you risk management, targeting new highs or targeting higher price action, getting in lower places, you kind of have tighter stops happening in here. Really, I wouldn't even think we would go below 57,700, but even further down here at 54, right? For stair stepping up, you get through all these phases. It's what we should do, right? And so if it takes that out and gets stopped out, then it's kind of like, okay, well then kind of reassessing and looking around to see what's going on. But I'm not going to argue against Messy Leo's financial advice. just not going to tell you to do it. So, all right. I won't keep rambling in here. I hope you guys are doing well. And let me thank you again for all the kind messages that you left on my video from Friday. When I came in here on Markets on the Morning on Wednesday of last week, it was definitely a hot mess of what was going on in my own personal life and a lot of stress in my own life, knowing that we had a big appointment coming on and not knowing what that future would entail in there. I do get it. A lot of people, like, for example, a lot of people say that I get sick a lot. Boy, you sure do get sick a lot. Well, that's because I have little kids. Nobody with little kids is going to say, BCB, you get sick a lot. Everybody with little kids is going to say, amen, brother. Right? But the people without kids, right, who still live in the selfish and self-centered and in the center of the universe world, say, you get sick a lot. The same thing goes with people who have kids who can relate to it, that part of the inside of you dies when something happens to your child. And that's just, that's just kind of how it goes. And there was a lot of uncertainty in that moment. And there was the traumatic event happening where he went in to the emergency room and woke up from his anesthesia in the middle of the procedure. And it was just all just kind of crazy and chaotic. So thank you for all the kind messages. I really appreciate it. Michael says, as a total beginner, what's the best way to start buying silver? I use findbullionprices.com. Not sponsored, but that's one that I share with you guys a lot. I've made videos on it. Just search my YouTube channel. I've actually made videos on this YouTube channel for it. They get terrible views. What would normally get 50,000 views only gets 5,000 views. So, all right, we'll go ahead and go through the wrap up, guys. I appreciate you all tuning in and for watching. If you're just tuning in late, wondering what's going on, this is likely a range. This is likely the first third of a range happening over here on the Russell. And then hopefully we get some reactions over there in markets. We're looking for Bitcoin to just really kind of be doing some stair stepping. So hopefully finding some supports coming in here pretty soon right now. Otherwise, I will check in with you all again tomorrow. Of course, you can check out the newsletter. We'll have a new one coming out here pretty soon. You can check this out at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Of course, you can check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators in TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. Otherwise, thank you guys. I appreciate all of you. And again, to those people who left those comments last Friday, there's a lot of you. Thank you. So, all right, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Hold on. I always forget this. I can't leave you without this. Happy Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday,
All right, here we go. We're going to try it again. Here we go. We're going to try it again. Okay, there it is. All right. All right. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need to pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.